All right, good morning, everyone. This is Mike Drobnis with OptfinITy. We have 9 or 10 more attendees who are scheduled to come in, but we're going to get started anyways because it is 2 minutes past 11 o'clock. So for those who are not familiar, this is going to be our webinar presentation on Microsoft Outlook. We're doing these presentations every single month. It's on the fourth Friday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard. Couple things about us, OptfinITy. We've been around now for a little over 13 years. We were founded in 2002. We work with small businesses and nonprofit organizations. We are based in the Springfield area of Washington, D.C., and we have worked with over 200 clients in our existence. Our lines of service typically include IT strategy and assessments. We do a lot of that with the nonprofit organizations, managed services and IT support, software database development, websites, mobile apps, as well as phone systems. Brief agenda of what we're going to talk about today. Housekeeping, we'll talk about just the call and what's going on. We'll talk about the Outlook interface. Run through some of the basics of Outlook. This is a basic Outlook presentation. We'll probably do an advanced one a little later this year. But we'll talk about the reading pane, attachments, junk mail, how you can archive mail. Talk about the search bar, as well as some mailbox rules and signatures, sending as, calendar, and then we'll talk a little bit about troubleshooting as well. Some housekeeping items. We're going to make this presentation around 45 minutes, and then afterwards we'll answer questions. However, if you do have any questions while we're talking about a particular topic, please feel free to put it in there, and we'll try to address that as best as possible. For best viewing of the presentation, you can view link in full screen by clicking the box in the upper right corner. Just FYI that the call is being recorded, but all of you are muted, so you shouldn't have to worry too much about what you said. And finally, to ask a question, because we have muted all of the guests to the call, you can click the speech bubble, which is located in the bottom left corner of your link app. And from there you can type, and then someone here will be monitoring those questions and responding to them as necessary. What I will be doing is I will be switching between screens, and so that right now we're using a PowerPoint presentation. I will then jump over to a setup of a Outlook 2013 screen. We're not going to touch upon everything, but we are going to touch upon all the basic things, and I'll be going back and forth between those. So to start off with, we're going to talk about the Outlook interface. What you're seeing right here is the Outlook interface. Now I'm going to switch over to Microsoft Outlook. And as you see in Microsoft Outlook, you should be able to follow my mouse that's on the screen. If you look from the left to the right, the left-hand side is your navigation bar. This allows you to switch between folders, allow you to sort your email into different folders. As you can tell here, you have your inbox, which is what is shown on this display right now. That is where all incoming messages go to begin with. Next is your drafts. The drafts folder is, say you start typing a message and you haven't had a chance to finish it, you minimize it, you go work on something else. That message will stay in drafts until you either discard the message or send the message. The next item, and one of the items we get a lot of questions about, is your sent items. Every message you send, by default, unless the default is removed, will save in the sent item folder. This allows you to go in there and view any message you have sent. Deleted items. The deleted item folder is where all messages go when they've been deleted, unless you hold down the Shift key and hit delete, which permanently deletes a message. Deleted items will stay in the deleted items depending upon the server policy. For those of you on Office 365, they'll default to either 14 or 30 days, and then at which point they're automatically purged. Or you can right-click on them and choose to empty the folder. That allows you to remove your deleted items. If your server is not set with a policy such as that, or if it's an on-site server or on-premise server, and your policy could stay there forever, and then you really should be filtering those out because that's where your mailbox gets extremely large. Your outbox is pretty much where the message will go when you send a message, and then immediately as soon as it gets sent out, it moves from there to the sent items. The rest of these items in here are different folders that this account has access to, and we're not going to get into that in today's discussion. Up top here, you have this option called Favorites. Say you get to a certain folder that you want to go to all the time. You can move an item from there. You can drag it up and place it there, and now it is a favorite item. So you have all your folders, and if you're like me, you probably have 150 folders categorized by people you talk to, but there are some that you may go to more than others, and you drag it up there to be a favorite. At the bottom of the screen, and for those of you using 2010 or 2013, your screen will look similar, but sometimes you'll see at the bottom these icons are actually going to be at the bottom of the screen. And that is for you to get to other parts of Microsoft Outlook. In this case, the other parts we're going to focus on today is your calendar, which we'll get into a little later in the presentation. People, or known in the previous versions as contacts. And then you also have tasks, which we won't do too much with today. As we move along here, this is your mail listing. In this case, we're on our inbox. So this is all the mail that's been sitting in the inbox waiting to do something. Up at the top, this area in 2010 and 2013 is commonly referred to as a ribbon. And this is where you have the ability to go and do a variety of things. We're going to focus on the Home tab today, but this is where you'd click on New to send a new message. So when you click on it, pops up your message, and we'll get to that in a little bit. You have the ability to choose new items. Say you wanted to do a new appointment or meeting without having to click on those other items down below. You can automatically click, I'm going to put a new calendar item in here, choose your date, your time, and put it in there. And we'll get to the calendars as well. To delete a message, you can click on delete, or you can highlight the item, click the little delete icon here, or while the item is highlighted, click the delete key on your keyboard. Other items you'll see here is the ability to reply to a message, and you can do that one of two ways. You can click on reply, or you can click reply above the message. When you do, it automatically will go to the person you are sending it to. If you click, say this particular message was sent from myself to this account as well as to Rebecca in the office. If I wanted the message to go to everybody that's on that message, I would click on reply all. If I wanted to forward the message, I would be able to click on the forward button, and you'll see the message comes up along with the ability for me to add who I am forwarding it to. Now, as you'll notice, in 2013, one of the features is the ability for it to open up the new message within the preview pane window. Some people like that. Some people like it to be a separate window. To do that, you go over here and you click on Pop Out. When you do that, as you'll notice, and it's coming up it should draw on your screen in a second, you'll notice that it has taken up your full screen, and it is now a separate box. And now that box is minimized by selecting the box, and I believe that's not drawing, so hold on one second. And now you should see it. So what you see right now is the message going out that has been forwarded, and this is a separate pop-up box versus the one that would have been in the preview screen behind it. To discard a message that you're not necessarily using, you can just click on the close button or the black X up in the top right-hand corner, and that returns the message. The last area to talk about is that preview pane, which is what is on the far right-hand side of the screen, and that is where the message appears in a preview mode, so you can see what's going there. So that pretty much covers the overall look of the Microsoft Outlook interface. Next item we're going to talk about, and this is something you really probably aren't going to have to deal with much, so I'm going to skip through this quickly, but that is the setting up of an account. There are three types of accounts that you're going to set up within Microsoft Outlook. You have those which are called server-based accounts. Examples of that would be Microsoft Exchange, or for example, Google Apps. You also have the ability to have what's called an IMAP account. That allows you to connect to a server, the messages remain on the server, and you can send and receive. The most common one we see of those is typically AOL. Yes, people still use it, I'm not sure why. The last account that you're typically going to utilize is a POP account. POP stands for Post Office Protocol. It's been around for a very long time, and it is a typical account. If you sign up for a website account, it comes with a POP server that's built into the website software. So to access or add an account, and again, we're going to skip through this quickly. While within Outlook, you're going to click on the File up at the top corner on the left. And again, this really only applies to 2010 and 2013. 2007 is a little bit different. You're going to click on Info, which is your default, and then you'll see right here the Account Settings button. You can click on Account Settings, and this is where the email is. Couple things to note, and again, this applies more to 2013, is with Microsoft Exchange, you can now have 3 Exchange accounts within one interface. So if you wanted to have multiple mailboxes, you can have an unlimited number of POP accounts as well as IMAP accounts. Just realize the more accounts you add, the slower your Outlook will go. As we're going back over to the Outlook, I want to talk about the panes that you have the ability to utilize within Outlook. And those are your reading panes. Now, over on the right-hand side, you have the ability to view the reading pane, or you have the ability to look at it as a subject or a couple of lines below the message. So if you go over here, you can see we have an option to put the view or the reading pane below the messages or to the right of the messages. As you can see right here, if I click on that, we're already on the right. I hit bottom, and you see my whole screen has changed. Now I have a preview of the message right above, and then the messages are below it. It really is a personal preference. There is no benefit one way or the other based on how you like to view your messages. I personally prefer them to the right because you can then add items at the bottom here, which I'm going to drag up slowly. And as you notice, at the bottom here I have my name because this is where or who sent it. You can tie in social media accounts to Outlook, and I'm not going to really go over it today, but I'll show you where it is. If you go to File Info, and you have the ability under your account settings here to add social networks. So you go to Account Settings, click on Configure Office, and up pops in Connect Office to your social networks. The reason you may want to do that, and the reason I utilize it on my particular account, is it allows me to keep up to date with what's going on. So for example, with my name, it might tie in my Facebook account, it may tie in my LinkedIn profile, and I can see what's going on. It allows me to get a better view of the person I'm talking to. This is especially important in the sales role. But again, this is again all personal preference. Some people do not like it at all, so I can click on that, it collapses the people pane, and now I have just my preview pane on the far right side. The next item we're going to talk about are attachments. A lot of people send attachments, obviously. You send spreadsheets, Word documents, etc. So in our message here, I have a message that I've sent that has 4 attachments to the image. Basically, you have really 2 options with attachments. You can open them, view them, and leave them in the message, or you can remove them from the message. What I typically recommend people do is they remove the attachments, save them somewhere on their computer, and keep the message. The reason they do that is you keep the message so you know that somebody has sent it, but you're not tying up your mailbox with the attachments. The reason that's important is Microsoft Outlook will slow down based upon the size of your mail file. And as you can imagine, your mail file is going to get very large when you have attachments. To deal with the attachments, you go over to the attachment itself, You can click on it and you get a preview. As you can tell, these are pictures of my family or my kids in a variety of different places. That's great if you want to preview the item. This works as well for all the Office products, Excel, Word, PowerPoint. It'll show up right there. If I want to save the attachment one at a time, for example, I only want to save this one, I can go here and save as, choose where I want to send it or save it. So in this case, I may choose to put it on the desktop, then my documents, and then hit the save button. If I wanted to save all the attachments, I can go here, click on Save All Attachments. It brings up all the attachments I want to save. Now in this case, I already saved the snowman, so I can always hit Control and take out that one. Or I can just save them all, hit OK, choose the folder. I'm going to save it in the same folder I just did. And as you'll note, I'll get an error message. And that error message is, well, you've already have a file there. Do you want to overwrite it? And I can either say no to stop saving. I can say no, I don't want to overwrite it, or I can just say yes. Since it's the exact same file, I'm just going to say yes, and then we're done. All the items are saved. Now that they're saved, I may want to save this message so I have proof that this is when they sent it, but I don't want to keep the attachments on there anymore. So to do that, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to click all the attachments. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say remove attachments. It's going to say, you sure you want to do it? Because once you remove them, they cannot be re-added. Not to this message at least. So I'll say yes. The attachment is now removed. And so now I want to save that message and I'm going to put it somewhere. So to do that, I'm going to go over to my inbox. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say new folder. And for that new folder, I'm going to just call it kids. I hit enter. I now have a folder called kids. And I can either right click and click on move and then choose the kids folder. And it's only going to show you the last few, but obviously you can choose other folder here. Or easily, I'm just going to drag it over to the kids folder. And now it's been moved over there. Okay. Do a quick check and see if there are any questions anybody has. Okay. So that's the attachments. Moving on to junk mail. Probably the biggest headache, biggest amount of questions we get is junk mail or mail that's not being received or delivered. With junk mail is Microsoft's attempt to block spam. A lot of times it's pretty successful, but in a lot of times you can find that people who are meant to send you stuff ends up in junk mail. People that you're not supposed to get stuff from doesn't go in junk mail, and vice versa. So in junk mail, as you can see in the screen captures here, you have the option to check your junk email by clicking on it. You can then choose how to send it, and I'll go through this in a minute. You can right click and get the menu right on the message itself versus going to the folder. And you have the ability to go in and show who the safe senders are. So if we jump back over to Microsoft Outlook, and we happen to get something today from Sage Team, so I think we'll utilize that as our junk mail suggestion. I don't know why Sage Team is sending us messages, but we'll go ahead in here and we'll go ahead and see that I have the option when I right click on it to say junk mail. Now, when I get there, you'll see I have a variety of options. I can block the sender. I can say never block the sender. In reality, you're going to be doing that when you're in the junk mail folder. I could say never block the sender's domain. So if you're getting a message from somebody at OptfinITy and it happens to pop into junk mail, you want to choose that option so that everybody from OptfinITy can send you a message. You can choose never to block a group or mailing list. Now, the key thing to realize here is when you utilize or when you receive mailing lists from a variety of companies such as Constant Contact or MailChimp, when the message comes across, it has a unique address every single time. Yes, it looks like it's coming from Michael.Drobnis@OptfinITy when we send our messages, or info@OptfinITy, but in all reality, that is just a cover for the actual address. So while you may block one of those messages or want to save or safe sender one of those messages, it will not always work because the actual underlying address is different. But going back to this, say I want to make Sage, and every time we get a message from Sage to go into junk mail, I'm going to click on junk, I'm going to click on block sender, and you'll notice not only did it disappear, but I get this little message, the sender has been moved to the junk email folder. I can say don't show this message again, or just hit OK. So I'm going to hit OK, and we'll go over to the junk email folder. In that folder, you'll see two messages. One that I created and put in the things like free Viagra or Cialis so that it automatically gets tagged, and then we have the one that's in there. Now, while I don't necessarily want a message from myself that talks about Viagra or Cialis, I do want messages from me to be safe senders. So in other words, always show up in my inbox. So I'm going to go again back to junk. I'm going to say never block this sender. Now, as you notice, okay, in this particular case, it's not going to work because it's an internal address. So if I go back to the Sage item and go to junk, even though I just put them on there, I can say never block sender, and it's saying it's now been added to our safe senders list. To see who is on that list, I can go down to junk, I can go to junk email options, and on here are a variety of options. Things I want to point out, because we actually had this particular issue just this past week, where somebody was getting a message, and it was in their junk email. They moved it to the inbox, and then the message deleted forever. The reason that was happening is they were clicking on this checkbox here, permanently delete junk email instead of moving it to the folder. So Microsoft initially caught it, put it aside, they moved it to the inbox, and when the rule took place, it just deleted it permanently. I do not suggest that whatsoever. I would always suggest going to junk email and removing it from there. Safe senders, as you'll notice, it's on the list. I'm not going to keep them on the list, so I'm going to remove them here. Safe recipients is again based on the domains. We have the block senders. I'll keep Sage on there so it goes to my junk email. And then you can also filter by international. If you don't want to get messages in Chinese delivered to you and you're getting a lot of those, you can block it just based on that. If you read Chinese, then I would suggest you don't do that. Click OK, and those saves the junk email options. Now, once you have junk email, you typically are going to have more than just two messages in there, and you've read through them, you've gone through, quickly scrolled down, and you want to remove them all. You just go ahead, right-click on the junk email box, go down, and say empty folder. It's identical to the deleted items folder. Once you do that, you're going to say you sure, because once it's permanently deleted, it's gone. You say yes, and the item disappears. Take a second, see if there's any questions from anyone at this point. All right, moving on. Archiving mail. Now, archiving mail is a way to save messages so that it doesn't take up space on your server and on your desktop. Archiving has come a long way. I'm going to show you how you can do this within Microsoft Outlook. However, it's really probably not recommended in today's day and age with the cloud. As you can save things, you have a lot of space, and there are ways and methods that we can provide as well that allows you to archive every single message you get totally separate from Outlook, so you don't even have to worry about it. Therefore, you only keep those important messages you want to keep in Outlook, or in some people's cases, nothing. Now, you remove everything from there as you take care of the issue rather than keeping it. It's also something you need to consider when dealing with legal regulations, medical regulations, dental, etc., where you have to keep, especially Sarbanes-Oxley, where you have to keep a copy of all those messages. But to do it in Outlook, you basically have an auto archive capability, which you can go to by going to File, Options, Advanced, and Auto Archive Settings. Once there, you can choose to run it, how often, where to put it, and what to archive. So I'll quickly demonstrate that. Again, you're going to File, you're going to Options. When you get here, you're going to the Advanced navigation bar, and then you're clicking on Auto Archive Settings. Here you can choose and say, all right, I want to archive something every 14 days or every 2 weeks. Do I want a prompt so that I can say yes, continue to do it, or don't? Do I want to delete the expired items? And so in your deleted email, do you want it to be permanently deleted versus archived? And then you can choose anything older than 6 months, you're going to move to this particular file or this particular archive. And that is how you auto-archive all of the items that are at least 14 days. All right, so we'll move along. Next, we're going to talk about another item that we get a lot of questions about, which is how to search for an item. In this particular case, we'll demonstrate how you do it and what you need to do. we don't have a mailbox that we can really do a lot of searching for because everything is like 5 or 6 messages. But to search, you have a search bar where you see up here which says what to search. You also have the ability of where to search, and I'll show you that. And then you have the ability to do an advanced find by going to the tools, search tools, advanced find menu option. So we jump to the search bar. We'll go back to our inbox. And as you'll notice right above, you have the ability to search your current mailbox. This is great and allows you to search for any message within the mailbox except for those items in the deleted items folder. Now say you have a message, you don't know if you deleted it, you don't know if it's in your 37 different messages. The way to search for that is you go to your deleted items folder. You click on the search bar in there and say I'll search for just my last name. And then over here where it says current folder, you choose the current mailbox. Because you're searching from within the deleted items folder, it's going to show you everything, including those in the deleted items. In this particular case, it's bringing up any message you can find in the mailbox that was dealt with recently. As you see here, it says showing recent results. If I hit the more button, it'll look and search for any item on the server otherwise. In this case, there are only 2. You have the one that was in the kids folder that we moved earlier today. And then you have the one that's sitting still in the inbox. You can search in the current folder. You can search subfolders if you have multiple hierarchical folders. You can search within the current mailbox, and you can also search in all Outlook items. That becomes important because maybe you have an item in a calendar. Maybe you have a person who has in their notes. Anything that has related to it, you can do a search from there. If you want to do any other type of search, depending upon whether you want to use the menu system or the ribbon bar, you have search tools, you have the ability to select advanced find. This becomes important when you want to search from a specific person. You can click here, put them in the from, and it'll bring every single message. So for example, if you're looking for messages that were just from me, but not necessarily had my name in there, you'd go here, put it in the from. You want to search all items that are sent to, you can do that. And I'm being told that you're not seeing that screen, so let me pull that up quickly. All right. Now you should be able to see the advanced find coming up in a second. Okay. So I'll quickly bring that up again. So again, we're looking for messages. Right now, we're in deleted items. We can go back up and browse and select all folders or the whole entire mailbox and then choose search subfolders. That allows you to search everything. And here's what I was talking about, the from. You can search from or the sent to, so you can do it specific to that person. So you know you sent a message to John in your office and he says he never received it. You can go in here and take a look at it. So that is the search bar. Next up are mail rules. Mail rules are something that I utilize a lot, and it allows me to categorize messages that are coming from a person or have specific keywords, a specific subject. Allows me to forward a message automatically if it's from somebody and I need someone else to look at it. And it allows a lot of categorization done on the fly so you don't have to worry about it. So to show you how that works, we're going to jump over here. And you'll see we have a message again. Let me jump back to the inbox actually. And while I'm in the inbox, you see we have an icon up at the top that says rules. I can automatically say if it's a message from Michael, do something with it. If it's a message that I always want to move because that's who it's sent to, do something with it. Or I can go ahead and just create a rule or manage my current rules, which is what I'm going to do today. And I'm going to select a rule. And we're going to do that kids rule. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to create a new rule. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to go back to my kids item and I'm going to push that back in the inbox. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm going to create a rule that will automatically move that. So we're going to go to Manage Rules and Alerts. I'm going to click on New Rule. And I'm going to click on Move Messages with specific words in the subject to a folder. When you see right here, it automatically put it in the rule description. Apply this rule as soon as the message arrives. With specific words in the subject, move it to the specified folder. When I click on specific words, I'm going to put in here and put in the phrase kids. I'm going to hit add, and I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to say move it to the specified folder. I'm going to go into my mailbox, I'm going to select the folder, kids, and I'm going to hit OK. So now the rule states, with kids in the subject, move it to the kids folder. Once that's done, stop processing the rules. I can then either hit finish because I've done it here, or I can hit next. And I can even add more criteria. If it's only from myself or from my wife, I could select that here. But again, I'm not going to do any of that. I can also do something else with it. I could say delete it, permanently delete it. So if you don't want to get messages from a certain person, you're getting tired of the same message over and over, you can just do that. I could also say if any message comes to me that has the word kids in it, I can click on forward it, and I could forward that to my wife or to somebody else. But again, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hit next. I can also do an exception. If it comes from somebody in my office and I don't want to save their kids' pictures, I can put that in here as well. Again, we're going to keep the rule simple right now. And then I'm going to give a name for the rule. I'm going to call it kids. Pretty simple. I'm turning on the rule by putting a check in that checkbox, which means any new message that comes in. But to show you that rule, I'm actually going to put the checkbox in here that says, I want you to run the rule now, so that it automatically does. I'll go ahead and hit finish. And as you notice, as soon as I did, the message for kids is gone. I'll go ahead and hit OK to save that rule. And if I go to the kids folder, there's the message. This works great for a variety of things. If you're on a listserv and you're getting a lot of listserv messages and you don't want to deal with them right away, you can go and say if the message comes in with the listserv prefix that they usually have in a subject line, move it to there. It could have to do with projects or anything like that. So that's the benefit of message rules. It's a double-edged sword. It works great for a lot of people. But then we get the calls on the occasion where I can't find a message. They sent it to me. Well, the rule applied and moved it, and they didn't realize. That is how we deal with mail rules. Email signatures. Talk about signatures in a little bit. The biggest marketing benefit you have whenever you're trying to promote or something or sell or anything is your email signature. In your signature, not only are you telling the person who's it coming from, that tells you their name, what they do, what organization, tells you how to contact them. It may include a picture, as I do with mine. It may tell you to check out their Facebook page, it may tell you different roles they had, etc. I highly recommend signatures, and I highly recommend that if you do use signatures, that you standardize those signatures within the organization. So to do a signature, going back to the options, we're going to go to File, we're going to go to Options, and here you'll see, and we didn't really get into too much of the options, but you have a variety of options here. In this particular case, we're going to click on Mail, and then we're going to click on the Signature button. As you'll notice, we already have one signature there, but our message does not automatically add that signature. So I may, for example, we'll just copy this signature. I'm going to click on the New button, and I'm going to call this Mickey Mouse. And now I have a blank signature. So I've already copied something that we're using within the company. I'm going to paste it in there. And now I'm going to go here and edit it. So I'll replace Rebecca's name with Mickey Mouse. And put him as the entertainer. And then you're going to go ahead and click OK to save that signature. Lost a little control of my mouse here, so give me 1 second. All right, so if you hit OK, and that'll save it. Now, as you'll notice, we now have the signature, but the signature itself is not being applied to messages. The way you do that is you click up at the top where it says Choose Default Signature. And again, I'm having some mouse issues here, but go over here and you can choose which default signature on new messages. And then maybe on replies forwards if you want it as well. Some people don't like to have it on their replies or forwards because the message itself It already has it in there. They don't want to keep doing that. It all depends. Again, it's a personal preference. Once that's done, I'm going to tab back over to the OK button, hit OK. Now I have the signature. And I'll tab over and hopefully get this mouse figured out in a second. And I hit OK. All right, my mouse is back. Not sure exactly why, but hey, I'll take it. Now when I hit the new email button, you'll notice Mickey Mouse signature automatically showed up. All right, the message was not showing up. All right, I guess we get that black screen problem again. We'll have to get that figured out, but let me show that to you. All right, when you hit that, when the black screen turns up, there you go. Now you have that signature. So it appears that the presenting application is not recognizing that these pop-up screens are part of the Outlook application. So that is why you keep getting that black screen. All right, so jumping back over to the PowerPoint, and we've got about another 10 minutes, so I'm going to move a little quicker through these items. Send as, and I won't focus too much on this one just due to time, but we can always answer any questions. With send as, for example, say you want a message to be sent out from somebody else. In our particular case, we have multiple users who use our support mailbox to send messages. So the engineers have the ability to send as support versus as their individual self. You may have an administrator who you want sending out information on behalf of the executive. There are a variety of ways to do it. So to do this, you have to first set the send as permission to the user, and then you go into the Outlook, and I will go back and give a black screen approval to that. And you see there, and then up at the top you have this option for from, and then you can choose the other email address to send as. So now it's going to send from support. I'll send it to myself. And now that message will go across to the support, from the support mailbox, so it'll appear as if it's coming from support. Calendar sharing, another big topic we get. So calendar sharing allows you to share your calendar so that other people in your organization can see whether you're busy or free. Now, calendar sharing itself has a variety of options. The first thing that must happen is say I want to share my calendar. So I go into calendar, and as you see, I have a variety of calendars here that we have options to, but I'm going to go in here and I'm going to choose the option to properties. And in permissions, I have right here as a default that anybody in my organization can see free or busy time. What that means is if I open up somebody else's calendar, I'm going to see their dates, and I'm going to see the times they're busy, but that's all I'm going to see. It's going to be blocked off, depending on the color, usually in blue, saying this time is busy, and then the time where it's free, it's going to show that. Say I want to give somebody a little bit more information. What I can do is go up here. I can choose the person. So in this particular case, I'm going to choose Devon. I'm going to add him here. And I'm going to be able to go and choose what permission level he should have to my calendar. If I give him permission as owner, and I don't recommend that for anybody, we've had a case where somebody gave permission to owner, and they hit the delete button and deleted the entire calendar as opposed to an item on the calendar. The owner can do everything. They can open it up, sharing to other people, etc. There's really no reason for someone to have ownership unless they're managing that person's calendar. You also have the ability to choose an editor or publishing editor. That's somebody who you want adding items to your calendar. So if you want somebody to schedule appointments for you or handle things from that perspective, that's where editor makes sense. Publishing author or author, again, that gives you the ability for them to write entries, but with an editor, they can delete the entries they've created. They can do other things that allows them to create new things. An author can only make changes. A reviewer allows somebody to see everything in the calendar, but that's all they can do. They can't add any items to the calendar, but they can review it. And then a contributor allows them to add items, but they have to be approved, and they can only see, again, very little details. In this particular case, we also have the option to keep it at free busy time, but then give the person the option to read full details. So I may not want them to do all these other things, create items, etc., that comes with certain preset permission levels, but I may want them to see that, okay, I'm not going to be in the office, I'm meeting with the XYZ Corporation. Or maybe I want them just to be able to see free busy times, but they can go ahead and create an item in my calendar. So they see that it's free, they can go in there and say, all right, you know what, you're free, I've given you a meeting to do. The things to be very careful about are the deleting items option. With the deleting item option, you have the option of allowing them to delete items on your calendar, so you can say no. They can delete the items they've created on their calendar, so not the items you've created, but the items that they have created, or you can say they can delete everything on there. This is better than the ownership one. If you want them to be able to delete items because they're making appointments for you, that is fine here, but as soon as you go and change that to owner, that gives them the ability to actually delete the calendar itself. Alright, so that's pretty much how you set the settings. Once you hit OK, so in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and we'll give Devang access, and now he can go in, he can add the calendar screen there. Now, when you have your calendar, as you'll notice under my calendars, I have all of these calendars listed and what things are going on. You can go in there and select, okay, so if I go to the customer service calendar, you'll see here, and I purposely chose the customer service because there's nothing on the customer service calendar, but you can see that the calendars are now side by side. So I can see, okay, you know what, I need to meet with customer service on April 1st, and I can see that they have nothing scheduled. I can then go here and click new items, new appointment, or just click new appointment here. Other things I'll do while I'm in this calendar screen is you can go and you can via day view. So now I can see, all right, this is on Friday, that's today. I can look at the work week. I only need the 5 days. I don't really care what they're doing on the weekend. I can do the whole week, or I can do the month. So that's pretty much the calendar view and how you share your calendars. So we'll jump back. And I just talked about viewing the shared calendar, so I'll skip that over. All right, creating an appointment. I do this at least 3 or 4 times a day. To create an appointment, you can go into your calendar, and you can either double click it, which opens up a calendar screen which you're not going to see yet, and I will bring that up, or you can go and click on new appointment. When the new appointment screen comes up, you have the ability to put in the subject, so meeting with Walt Disney, Orlando, from 8 to 8:30. Well, that's past today, so let's do something this afternoon. How about 2 o'clock? And from here, I have a couple of options. I can invite attendees. And so to do that, I click on invite attendees and I choose. I can choose people in the organization, or I could just choose any email whatsoever. So we'll go with mickey@disney.com. When I do that and I hit send, Mickey's going to get a calendar invite where they have the option to accept the invite, say it's tentative, or decline the invite. And they can also choose whether to say why, etc. Say I want to do this meeting. And I want to do it for every single Friday from 2 o'clock to 2:30. And that's what's called a recurrence. So I just made the screen full size, but you see right up here this option for recurrence. I say, all right, from 2 to 2:30, I want to do it every single Friday. I have it set as weekly. Friday's selected. It's going to recur every single week. And I can either do it for no end date, I can do it for the next 10 weeks, or I could choose a date in which it's going to end. I hit OK, and it's going to save that for every single Friday. Now, this still needs to be accepted, but it'll show up as a tentative. Now, if I go into monthly, I can do it always on the 27th of every month, the fourth Friday of every month. I can do it once a year, which is great for setting birthday reminders. And you can also choose how long the meeting is, etc. Once I hit OK, and I'm going to choose this so that it's once a year, so my calendar, actually, you know what, I'll do it weekly. Do it every Friday. I'll hit OK. I'll go ahead and hit send. Now that's obviously going to bounce, but as you'll notice on my calendar, I've got a meeting with Walt Disney for the rest of my life. So the reason I wanted to send it is when we go back to mail, and we're going to talk quickly about errors before we close up today. What basically is, you'll notice I just got an error message, but this is now going to sit here and it's going to wait until it has been accepted. But as you notice, when I try to open it, it says, do I want to change or open just that calendar date or the entire series of dates? So if I wanted to change it from 3 to 3:30 instead of 2 to 2:30 for every single week, I'd hit the entire series. If I just wanted that one day to be changed, I'd go with just this one. All right, because we're running a little short on time, I'm going to just jump through and skip over the link meetings. We can have a separate presentation on that. But basically, just to show you, click on New Link Meeting, put in the date, the time, and who you're inviting in, and that'll go there. We've talked about calendar views, so I'm going to just quickly show you what those screens are. We've already gone through that. One of the last items we'll talk about is using Outlook remotely. Now, this specifically talks about Microsoft Exchange as opposed to Outlook, because Outlook itself is the software client. But when you're using Outlook, most people think about Microsoft Exchange or Office 365. As you'll notice, there are a variety of ways to do it. One is through your phone, and obviously what's called ActiveSync allows you to tie those together. You have the ability to view it on the web, and if you look on the middle screen here, it has that web interface. And then on the far side is a calendar interface as well that you can see via a phone interface. And then at the bottom is a full web screen through Office 365. The last item I want to get to is troubleshooting. We obviously get a lot of troubleshooting components or questions. First one you might get is Outlook itself won't start. In this particular case, it says there's a problem with the Outlook.pst file. This will typically only occur if you're using a public folder or an archive folder. If you get this message with an OST file, that's because your Exchange Outlook copy has an error. The easiest way to get rid of that error is if it's a PST, you run a utility, or your IT person runs a utility to scan that PST file and fix it. If it's an OST, then you typically just rename the OST and Outlook will create a new one because all those files are saved on the server. You may have seen this issue. Microsoft Outlook has stopped working. There's not a lot I can tell you about why that is going on without looking at the individual issue, but that typically means the actual application itself has a problem. Best solution is to close the program and try to reopen it. If that doesn't work, you can do what's called an office repair, but that's a little bit beyond this webinar for today, but that is the typical error you're going to get for that. Network connectivity. You might get an issue where you have an Outlook send receive progress, and you see the error. It says the connection to the server was interrupted. That typically occurs because you're either not online, your network is not working, your Wi-Fi might be down. First thing to do to test that is to, one, make sure that you can get on the internet. So go on the web, open up CNN, make sure it's today's news, not a cached copy. If you are able to do that, then what I would suggest you do is you then go and check to make sure your email server is not having a problem. Easiest way to do that is turn to your neighbor in the office and say, are you having problems? If not, then it's something specific to your computer. We'd recommend the typical Microsoft solution to everything, which is close the application and reopen it. And if that doesn't work, restart the computer and reopen it. And if that still doesn't work, then give us a call at OptfinITy. We'll be happy to help you solve that problem. This screen's a little hard to see, but it's a file attachment limit. A lot of the Exchange servers, and some Google as well, will limit the size of your attachment. So if you decide to create a video and email it to somebody, don't. It's not going to work. Videos take up a lot of space, and you're not going to be able to send that. If you get that issue and you try to send multiple files, the easiest way to solve it is to only send a couple files at a time in each message, and that'll allow it to work. Certification issue. A lot of people get these issues. What this is basically telling you is that in order for Microsoft Exchange to work, it has to use what's called SSL, or Secure Certificate Files. That allows encryption to save the file between the two locations, your machine and the server. Sometimes that certificate is not up to date. Sometimes it has the name of another server name, because most servers have two names, one for the public internet, one for the private office. In many cases, you can proceed without a problem, but if you have any questions on that, you can let us know. This particular error here is in Office 365. It's just telling you that there's problems with the Office 365 message. So that's not much you can do about that except wait for Microsoft to resolve that issue. The last error message, which isn't on the screen, that I want to quickly run over, is an error message you get when you send a message to somebody and it comes back to you. In this particular case, you see that the message here is saying it could not deliver this message to Mickey@Disney.com. You'll see that if you really want to get too technical, but why is it being rejected? This is the part you want to look at. It says the recipient was rejected. In a lot of cases, that's because you have a spelling mistake or the employee is no longer there. So in that particular case, check your spelling. If it says the host or the invalid host right below, if it says invalid host, that means Disney.com doesn't exist. So just another particular message. All right, so that's pretty much a general troubleshooting. Again, we can assist with other more specific things when you have those. At this point, we'll take a look and see if there are any questions. If there are, we'll go ahead and answer those, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to type those in. If not, please join us next month on April 24th. We'll be talking about email security and some other components about that. So at this point, we'll see if there are any other questions. All right, there do not appear to be. As again I said, I'd be more than happy to do a advanced outlook. Or if you have other topics you'd like, please send us an email. You can email us at info@OptfinITy.com. And what we'll do is we'll be happy to put on webinars. The whole point of our webinar series is to answer technical questions, provide some basics on how to utilize certain components within your office. We also have our seminar series, which is always on the third Thursday, except in April when it happens to be on the fourth Thursday. Our next seminar, which will be on 3D printing, should be out. You should look at our newsletter and sign up for that. We do expect to close that off because we typically get a lot of people for that. So again, that's on the fourth Thursday because it is April, and that is the 23rd of April. So please feel free to join us. And again, all the components, all the seminars and webinars, you can register online. At this point, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. So again, thank you for joining us on today's webinar, and to have a wonderful day and enjoyable weekend.